So our second speaker is Mr. Ahmed Amir. He's going to talk about the subject that is presented here, lowering costs, improving cloud scalability with 9Go architecture, delivery evaluation. So let's welcome our guest speaker here.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. After listening the speech of Mr. Ahmed, I feel like he tried to cover almost every aspect of the cloud and how and what were the initiatives which are happening across the government sector. That was something was eye-opening for me as an individual. The way how Dr. Ayman has started, I think the total cost of ownership and other aspects, I think he has well covered within that short opening speech. And Dr. Ahmed Khairi, I think whatever he said, I feel like, I'm an integral part of his program, what he has displayed. So since you see my name is Ahmed Amer, so Amer is already part of his plan, which he has just mentioned. And I have been also, I feel like I need to know more about the government initiatives with regards to the cloud. And today, within the past 6 to 7 months, I have delivered around 12 to 15 cloud and big data events across the different geographic regions. So as you might have seen the previous one, however, I will not try to bore you or try to make a redundant explanation what our prestigious speaker has explained very clearly. So I will skip some of the slides as and when it is required, and also I would like this session to be a little interactive. So if there are things you feel like we may need to discuss, so let us make it not very formal. We could also have some interactivity during the session itself. So let me, as you might see, this is what it is, and this is what I have an agenda. So I'm just trying to come up with a kind of theme. And you see another similarity, we are using the same template of the PowerPoint. So I feel like, okay, here I go with a big theme. So mostly my presentation, I'm actually representing myself as a neutral speaker. I'm unbiased to any vendor or technology. And I will try to take you a little bit through the thought process and also give you some explanation and understanding about the cloud. And I am aware that most of you are well versed and you have a good understanding. However, I would like to take maybe a little bit like a different perspective on the cloud itself. So here is the agenda, so I will just move on. And I will talk about like a big theme. Before I start, we have to understand one thing, like there is, in different companies, there is we are talking about the information. Information is like very important, and it is something we must have and all of that. So we are talking about an information world where you have the data, where we have an accessibility to the data, where that information is considered as an input. For that information, why it was given? For you to process, for you to apply your experience so that you can take certain actions. So actions is the knowledge, actions is the thing which you are delivering. It is not just about the cloud and big data and all of that, the fancy stuff which we are listening. It is about doing the things systematically, the way how the customer is expected to receive your service, product or whatever. I used to have my saying as an initial statement, cloud is not just about the technology, but it is about the more business benefit. It is about the regulations. It is about the compliances. no matter how good I am done with regards to the cloud and integrated services, but if the same data, it is not fetchable or accessible across the different geographic locations, if the law of the land, the different jurisdiction will not allow me to fetch that particular data, again it is about the cloud. So in order for us to have the successful factor, an X factor for the cloud, we have to have all those pieces and ingredients or an architecture. Everything has to have its own maturity. So the technological vendors, they need to work and they need to do their homework in order to unify the technological aspects and regulations. The government have to come up with an open and a kind of a transparent regulations which every vendor, every customer, every consumer can adopt and adapt. I will go to that particular thing. In this particular theme, what I am saying as a thought process, an information is given, whether you talk about a project, you talk about a process, you talk about a business scenario. When you are talking about a business, we are talking about different set of business processes. So if you talk about as a project management, you talk about as a PMI, we have a certain tools and techniques need to be applied to the input. So unless you apply those things, you will not have a result. So I will move on. And at the end of the day, we are talking about a value, whether it's about satisfying a particular goal for a particular project, or you are talking about a particular scenario, or you're talking about like a society, you're talking about a citizens. It is all about the value. What is the expectations if it is a citizen? What is the expectations from the government? What are the expectations from the technological vendors, and so on. So, and these are like silos, and some of the things Ahmad Khairi has already well covered. So you see, as an IT, we think like we are like a value center, we are hardworking, and we are intelligent group, and so on. And the business, they think like they are like cost center and all of that. Okay. And you have seen like Gartner, Forrester, and IDC recently they came up there with the technological predictions for the year 2013 and till 2016 and till 2020. So you see the driving force, as you see, is the consumerization. It is about what consumer he wants. Before we as an IT heads, before we as an IT pros, we never thought that the mobile it is going to drive. Before we used to have an ERP or a back office application implementation, and then we used to send our user for the training so that he can use and he can bring some productivity to the company. That's not the case now. So your handhelds or your mobile devices, they are the one who is driving the whole IT. And the policies and procedures are happening. So you see like nowadays, like there is a lot of competitions are happening with regards to the mobile market. HTML5, you talk about like reactive design, fluid grid. You design one site and it has to work on different platforms. I don't need to really reinvest my efforts again to redesign for the mobile, redesign for the app store, redesign for the Android store, and so on. So we need to have that common factor. We need to understand how we can mitigate that particular aspect, and there are technologies are coming up. You talk about like a payment process, the transactions. Couple of weeks before I have delivered on the e-commerce. When you're talking about as an e-commerce cloud, you're talking about as an e-commerce as a payment gateway, you're talking about a transaction with the monetary aspects, whether it could be through credit card, whether it could be with our Sadat services, or even the new technology NFC, near field communication. There are technologies are being evolved. So when I said evolve, so let me quote this evolve as a keyword, since I just learned from him the idea of tagging those keywords. Cloud computing, we are in the evolution phase. So this cloud is not being evolved, but also it is revolutionizing the way how we were thinking, how we were approaching at the different aspects of the business. When I said business, it doesn't mean only the private business, even the government sectors, everything. So and there are different definitions. So there is not a common universally accepted definition with regards to the cloud. So what we understand when we are talking about the cloud, there has to be a boundary. When somebody is saying cloud, what it means. So everybody had their own explanation with regards to the cloud. If you ask the business CEO or you ask the CFO, he thinks cloud, it means about saving the money. It is about I pay as I need. So he has his own interpretation, he has his own definition. NSF IT, I believe, the US the authority, they have also recently launched another definition. However, even Forrester, they have their own definition of the cloud. Gartner, they have their own. And everybody have their meaning. I'm not saying somebody is right and somebody is not right. But the cloud itself is being evolved. But if that means like so many people, they come, they say, can we go to the cloud? What do I need in order for me to go to the cloud? The question, it doesn't start from there. The cloud is a journey. It is a journey of learning. It is a journey of putting the right practices in place. It is a journey of seeing what is the best of breed in terms of technology, in terms of business processes, in terms of time management, and in terms of many aspects, and so on. I'll just say skip all of that. So there are challenges cloud it brings. The challenges, it is not just about the technology. Yes, I would like to unify everything, but there is a factor of control. With all my respect, you talk about the health sector. Each hospital within the health sector and each department within the health sector, they are like silos. And each department, they think that they own that particular function. The information is not owned by the IT. The more expenses, the more expenditure on the IT is being spent by the non-IT departments. And that's the report. And there are different perspectives. There are different characteristics about the cloud. Gartner Vice President, her name is Annie, she talked about the patterns and anti-patterns. And in this 45 minutes, I am going to refer back all the time to Ahmed Khayari. He talked about the service-oriented architecture. Let me ask one question with my audience. How many of you guys are IT? So that I put myself in that perspective. IT guys, business guys. How many are the business guys? Of course, IT guy has to be a business because there's nothing like IT and business. And that's what we used to think. When somebody used to tell me as an IT pro with the 2 decades of experience, sometime 10 and 15 years before, I used to be happy to say that I'm being groomed as an IT. But now, after 2 decades, I feel like, no, I'm not, I'm a business. You talk about the business. You talk about your requirement. You talk about the business process. You talk about your timelines. You talk about the expected quality. And then I will, based on my experience, based on the, as a community team effort, we discuss and we come up what technologies it can be used in order to fulfill the requirement and so on. So when we are designing or orchestrating our solution or a service, whether it could be different ministries, whether it could be different departments within a company, you need to identify what is your target. And I will come up with the last slide. As you might have seen, there is a ninja. And that's what my initiative since 1.5 years, I'm along with a very small team, voluntary basis. We are trying to come up with a kind of consortium where we develop the standards. It doesn't mean that we are not reinventing the wheel. I will try to talk when that particular slide comes. So there are certain anti-patterns which will make sure that what is you want to achieve the target, everything cannot in favor of the strategy. So you need to identify those elements, those legacy applications, those J2EE legacy stuff where we have spent maybe billions or millions of dollars and Saudi riyals, and we have to identify and we have to kill. We have to take it off, because that will be against our orchestration. That is against our approach. That is against the technology which is being evolved. Whether you talk about the REST protocol or different protocols which are still being evolved. And those protocols will be used as a common protocols, irrespective of the vendor, irrespective of the provider. But these efforts need to be more accelerated. And there is a lot of efforts are being spent on the cloud. And this is the best ever time for the vendors and the consumer and the government ministries to have, to deliver the service in a way where they could not have dreamed before. We never dreamed, and this is the best time ever we have in terms of conducting a business. Your audience is the world. You are not limited to a specific geographic location. The whole, I used to quote like 6.4 billion. Recently I got to know it's like a 7.1 billion population of the world. And out of that, we have more than 1/3, they are connected to the internet. So we are talking about somewhere around like 2.3 billion population, people who is waiting and who are your audience. No matter what is your specialty, no matter what you are serving, but they are your audience. And you just make your point and you deliver your service the way you like. If you really stand out, no one is going to stop you. Nobody is going to limit you. And thanks for that. There is exit strategy. This is one of the challenge, because you see what happens now as a cloud vendor, as a cloud service provider. Every vendor, he has his own cloud. Cloud, it doesn't mean that it's a website or it's something which is like a web hosting. It is not a managed service which you have hosted. It means a lot. It is about doing the things systematically. He has showed Dr. Ahmed Khairi, he showed the model. I will show also my model from the different perspective about the cloud transformation. I will move to this one. So Gartner, they came up with a name called Nexus of Forces. And a couple of months before IDC prediction, they call third platform. And there are some slides which are not very up to date. However, but there is one common element or common factor. Every one of them, no matter how they predict. IDC, they predict as a mainframes was like the first generation. The client server is like a second generation, and now we are in the third generation. When we talk about the generation, we are talking about the first generation. As per my interpretation, we were struggling to have a connectivity. In 1980s, when you talk about the connectivity, we were talking, because in 1980 the TCP/IP protocol was evolved. So the challenge for the people who were responsible for having an IP address to connect to another IP address. And that's how those two connectivities spread across the different geographic region, and that's how the internet was evolved. Now we are in the second stage of connectivity, and I name that one as a hyper-connected world, where each individual of you have a smartphone, have a device which connects to the internet. We doesn't have to assume only the PCs, laptops, or those smartphones which provides the internet connectivity where I can browse the stuff. That's not only the element of having a connectivity. So now we are in the second stage of connectivity. And fortunately, I am also one of the users who has 2 devices. One device is solely for me as an individual data SIM, because I cannot have 20 MB bandwidth, of course shared, on my own device, on my iPhone. And I don't used to pick up the phone, normal phones, because everyone I'm not supposed to talk, unless he's your loved one, somebody from your family, something you think it is really important. Otherwise it's like a waste of time. Now, from this super connected world, now we are going towards the hyper connected world, where I saw in one of presentation things, Internet of Things, and I think Forrester and Gartner also, they talk about that in some aspect. So, according to them, every object we see today is an universal object. And every object, it doesn't have to be a computational object. Even non-computational object, it has certain characteristics, it has certain information, it has certain data, it has a certain angle of sight where the information is being generated. And that information we need to accumulate and we need to analyze so that we understand what the citizen he wants, what the consumer wants, what the business wants. I mean, those kind of things. So, the cloud is not a luxury, it is a requirement, it is a necessity. So, it is a necessity of integrating the services together, it is a necessity to process that amount of data so that the wise decisions can be made on real-time basis. In one of my speech I was saying, everything like we have platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and software as a service, and there is something called anything as a service. Recently, Cloud Consortium, they said policy as a service, and there is something called ZaaS as a service. Anything as a service is there. But unfortunately, I did not see, no one has talked time as a service. There is nothing important in a human life more than the time. What I propose in one of the events, time is the service. No matter what is your direction, the time, within the time, you need a certain amount of services. What we do as a project management practitioner or as a business consultant, there is a scope, and in order to fulfill that particular scope, we see what are the resources we have, what are the resources it is required, what are the customer expectations, what is the time frame, and so on, and what are the different geographic locations, and who are our customers. Not only that, there has to be an intelligence has to be integrated. When I talk about the intelligence, again tagging that particular intelligence as a meta tag, intelligence, how it comes. It is not just the intelligence what every human being is having in his own mind and in his own experience. It is about machine learning. Google. What is the good thing about the Google? Google, they are like one of the world's major companies, software house and infrastructure and so on. I don't know how many things they have initiatives. Whether you talk about the Google Glass, where you see the physical world and get the information about it in the virtual world, and so on. So I'm trying to avoid those every budget is an IT budget and those things which you have heard, on the net and different presentations. So, and he has already touched on the SLA part, so I will not touch that particular component. Cloud brokerage service. This is for the business. Gartner has predicted by the 2015 there will be a cloud brokerage service because there is no unification of technology. There is no every vendor has their own measurements. They have their own way of calculating the service. They have their own way of measuring your SLA. So there has to be one individual like a broker as a brokerage service. He take the requirement and he makes sure that this particular service of the cloud, it fits to the customer need as per his budget and all of that. So that is also going to come. So however, it doesn't require for me to. And this is my favorite. Mobility is no option. Everybody using the mobile devices. When we talk about the mobile device, it is not, my friends, only the devices which we are carrying. It is your refrigerator. It is your TV, which has the connectivity. It is your home appliances, which can have the connectivity. Maybe they have an integrated connectivity, or maybe there is some other devices you can use. There is something called Raspberry. I don't know how many of you have heard about it. So those things will enable your traditional and conventional appliances and provide you a kind of connectivity where the intelligence will be there. The intelligence, how it is coming? There is a machine learning process is happening. There is experience, and there is certain data, and there is a machine learning is happening. Amazon as a platform service provider, as an infrastructure service provider, they are like number one. Although Microsoft and Google, they are competing to them. Salesforce.com as software as a service, they are like number one. It is not just a web application. It is much more than that. I will cover to that point. So these are like this is my definitions, and of course not everything. Like CIO, we have been listening. I have been listening actually, reading on the net that the CIO is not just about the information. He has to be an innovation officer. He has to innovate something. He has to do something new or something which could benefit. It doesn't have to be new. Sorry, I will take my words back. Something which can add value by reducing the cost, by reducing the time. He is a cost-cutting officer as a head of the IT. And and there is a CDO. Gartner, they said by year 2015, large organizations, I think in the US, I think he said, okay, here you go. By year 2015, 25% of the companies, they will have the CDO, Chief Digital Officer. He is a guy with the operational experience. He is a guy with the management skills. He is a guy with a strategic mindset. Coming back to the cloud, is it about the transformation of the technology cloud? It is also about the mindset. You are using the same thing, but your way of approaching that particular aspect is the same old traditional way. So that will not work out. The transformation has to happen from the technological side. The transformational way of regularizing the government services has to happen from the government side. And the transformational approach, the IT thing. Because since I'm an IT guy, when cloud, I mean, I'm gonna be fired, or my job is gonna be lasting for a year or something. So those things we have to really visualize. So consumerization of IT and all of that, I think I will not talk on this particular thing. Okay, the big data, I will just touch a couple of points over here. Everybody knows why we are saying as a big data. Maybe as I used to interpret, because there is a large amount of data, it is there. I explain you why this large amount, why not today, why it is today, why not yesterday, why not before that. NASA, they have plenty of data to be computed. So the data is being evolved by every object from your, when you talk about the data, it is not just about, my friend, the enterprise data warehouse, what you have in your organization. No, it also have to have the social data. What the people is talking about your service and products and different things on the social media, on the social networks. That need to be considered before you actually come up and launch a service. I think as a car manufacturer or as somebody else, I think I have like hundreds of years of experience. I am the best and I have a reputation. That doesn't mean that the same legacy will not be carried forward in the future. So you have to ask, it is not about you, it is about the consumer. What is his expectation? So you take his expectation, you take his comments, either from the Twitter, from the Facebook, and from any social networking services we have. I can bet more than 80% of you over here have this one, or maybe 100% I can tell without exaggeration. Some type of social networking you have. Whether it is Twitter, Facebook, and all of that. Couple of months before in Jeddah, when I was delivering Dr. Arwa, she is the vice mayor for the municipality for Jeddah. And she asked a couple of questions. As soon as I came down from the desk and I saw that there is a reply, she asked me, because I said by the end of year 2020, according to Gartner, this big data buzzword will go back to its origin and it will be considered as a data. Why it is considered as data? Because of those three challenges will be met. So it is about the volume of the data which we are receiving from every place, social media. We have a corporate enterprise data warehouse where you have the BI reports and all of that. But those BI reports has to have that particular data which is being generated by the social networking services, social media. And then now I receive the data. Do I have the platform to compute that particular data and to make it available for the business or for the senior management to take the decision? No. We used to have one report. We run today, and after 2 days it used to give one report. Because our way of computing was a very old and legacycal way. So there is a new trend is happening with the inceptions of new technologies and all of that. So big data, it is not just about the volume, it is also about the speed, it is about the velocity, it is the time it will take in order to bring the results so that you can have the insight of the consumer, insight of your citizen, insight of your customer. And then you are talking about different sources. It is not just about your data warehouse, you have to have a connectivity and have updates. You have to see what the other people they were talking about, things like that. So it has a lot of explanation, so I'll just read. So bring your own device, I think everybody knows about that. So I used to say it's a bring your own dinner. A company will not stop you to bring your dinner to your office or wherever. When there is a lunchtime, you will eat. So the devices you cannot stop. But we, as a backend, as an IT guys, are responsible for IT. We have to have some policies and procedures and processes in place in order to overcome with that particular challenge. Consumerization of IT, I talk on this particular thing. This is the thing I would like to say. I'll just go over it very quickly. Assessment. When you are talking about the cloud and transformation, first of all, we need to jump ourselves and see what do we have in data center and what are the services we are providing at different geographic locations. What are the services we are providing in what climatic conditions. So when you talk about the climatic conditions, you are talking about different geographic locations. So you are talking about the location services which is there. But are we evaluating those data which is coming from the location services? No, we are not. Or maybe yes, but with a 10%, very low percentage of adoption. So before we actually talk about the virtualization, the assessment has to happen, there has to be a standardization has to happen. If you have 20 servers for the SQL, you just try to unify and make a cluster or a server form where you have one as a platform where all the computing in terms of the data with the same version will be available. Then you talk about the virtualization. And then it's about the automation, it is about the self-service, what he mentioned already. It is about the alignment and integration. You have different services catered at different geographic locations at different places. We need to align, and that's what I think that's the biggest challenge we have today. And I think to tell you the truth, the first define goals I will read, and this is what Ahmed Khairi he told already, exactly the same wording. Define goals and orchestrate a typical cloud-ready architecture in alignment with the organizational strategies. That's what he said, and that's what I start from. So it is not just about the technology, it is about your needs, it is about your expectations, it is about your group strategy, it is about the high-level strategy, what are your priorities, and things like that. And the assessment and simplification, and I'm running out of time, so because there are so many things has been already covered, so I just try to come up with a new approach of thought process, and I feel like maybe you have understood what is my point, and there is a lot of work. So what is my idea over here? we will have a geographically scattered team who are specialized in that particular domain. And I'll just read that one small line. An approach driven from the best of breed methodologies, frameworks, and industrial best practices. That means I am not building anything. I will take what is good from the PMI. I will take what is good from the ITIL as a service and support delivery model. I will take from the Six Sigma or Lean Six Sigma, where you talk about how to, consider a particular process, how to optimize the process, how to increase the efficiency, and so on. So again, it depends who is your customer, to whom we are going to apply. And those are other stuff. So it has a lot of details, and there will be some Excel sheets and templates and things like that. So I would like to thank you for being a good audience, and thank you. And if there is any question, I don't know whether I have time to take at least one or two questions quickly. Yes. Yes.
Big data is there and it's already around us. The biggest challenge that I faced was the proper categorization of the data. Is this structured data or it's not structured?
Yes.
If it is structured, then normally there are many ways around it and many uses to it, and you can easily put an OLAP on top of it, and then you can perform your BI reporting. When it is not structured, from the large organization that you come from, what kind of practice do you follow in structuring your data, despite the fact that it's coming from different sectors?
Yes. Thanks. That's a good question. That's a hardcore question, basically. As a statistics, the global statistics with regards to the big data, 90 or 85% of the data which is available in the world is unstructured data. So only we are talking about something around 10 to 15% is the data which is structured data. And structured data, again, it has like further categorization. There is semi-structured data and there is actual structured data where the analytics and those things where you can make the decision which could bring the value. Now, with regards to, if I understood correctly, you said the challenges which is required in order to have the value from the unstructured data or from the structured data. Okay, structured data actually, since it was not, there is a big, you see that is the big data delivery model, you saw that one over there. So I have developed a model actually, how you should interpret when the big data comes. So there are certain steps and there is, there is a categorization. When you are talking about like unstructured data, first of all, we need to know what is our priorities, what do we need to achieve in order to get, like let's talk about the social media. What is the data? Let's say me as a MECL or as a Sony product, I see these two products, maybe they may not be performing so well. So for me as a priority, I need to see what the customers is talking about these two particular products out of the range of products. Or if, this is one evaluation, I can take it. And there is another criteria what I can consider. What are the two products which are high performing? So I just compare those two particular products or service, and I try to come up with a variance or a kind of fact list. And then actually the cycle moves. It's an explanation. And this is a governance. It's not just about one-time rectification of the problem. Because with the time, as a business, the requirement just change. It's like an evolution. What I think today is good or right, I may not respect my view tomorrow because of different influential factors, different regulatory elements. What is right today, it may not be right tomorrow. What is the action is right today at this particular location, it may not be right at a different location. So there is a geo data and it's a big, stuff. So I just try to cover up as an approach, and there is a clear understanding on this particular. So it is as you were saying also, it is about the requirement is the driver. Approach is an open approach. No matter what, the services has to be integrated. You have to know what do you want. What happens sometimes we talk about the delivery date and time without understanding what is the scope of the project, what exactly it means. So I hope I try to cover up. Maybe this may not be the right answer because it requires it's a model actually. That's what I mentioned over there, big data. But maybe on one-to-one I can share with you this particular model. Thanks a lot. I think there are no questions, and thanks for being a good audience. Thank you.